Have you ever looked at a logo or a website or even just a chair and thought, wow, that just works? Well, there's a reason for that. There's this invisible language all around us, a set of rules that guides our eyes and even how we feel. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode that language.
But first things first, let's get one thing straight. What's the real difference between an artist and a designer? I mean, they both make things that are cool to look at, right? But their whole reason for creating is actually worlds apart.
And here it is, the key difference. An artist creates to express an idea or an emotion. A designer, on the other hand, is all about solving a problem. Think about your desk chair. It's not just designed to look nice. It's engineered to support your back, to roll smoothly, to actually work. That's design. It has a job to do.
So here's the game plan for today. We'll start by seeing how design is literally all around us. Then we'll break it down into its most basic building blocks. After that, we'll dive into the language of color. And finally, we'll look at the fascinating ways color can actually affect our emotions.
So what even is design? Well, at its core, it's just the purposeful arrangement of stuff. Seriously, from how the apps are laid out on your phone to how the words are arranged on this screen, it's all about making deliberate choices to achieve a certain goal.
So how do designers do that? How do they make those choices? Well, they have a toolkit, a set of fundamental ingredients called the elements of design. Think of these like flour, sugar, and eggs for a baker. They're the absolute basics you need to create anything visual.
And it all starts with the simplest thing imaginable, a single dot. A blank page is just empty space, but the moment you put a dot on it, boom, your eye goes right to it. Suddenly that empty space has a focal point. That's a core design principle called emphasis, and that one tiny dot gives all the surrounding white space a whole new meaning.
Okay, now imagine connecting a whole bunch of those dots together. What do you get? A line. And lines are the real workhorses of design. They create a sense of movement, telling our eyes where to go. You repeat them, and you create rhythm. And think about it. A straight, calm, horizontal line feels totally different from a sharp, angry, jagged one, right? And get this, look at the incredible power of a simple line. This image is completely flat. But just by changing the curves and the thickness of the lines, by creating contrast, the designer tricks our brains into seeing a three-dimensional hand reaching out. That's just wild. So when those lines connect and close up, they create a shape. And now we can start talking about another huge design principle, balance. Designers carefully arrange shapes to spread out the visual weight so a design feels stable and harmonious, whether it's perfectly symmetrical like a circle or asymmetrical like a splash of paint. Now take a shape and give it some depth, and it becomes a form. That's the big difference. A shape is flat, like a drawing of a circle. A form has volume, like a real-life sphere. And this is where the principle of proportion is absolutely key, making sure the size of one form makes sense next to another.
And this just makes it crystal clear. On the left, you've got a flat square. That's a shape. Add that third dimension, depth, and suddenly it's a cube. It's a form. You feel like you could pick it up. The relationship between its height, width, and depth just feels right. That is good proportion.
Next up is texture. This is all about how a surface feels, or how we think it would feel just by looking at it. You know, the roughness of tree bark versus the smoothness of glass. Texture adds variety to a design, which is so important for keeping our eyes interested. Without variety, things get boring fast.
All right, so we have our building blocks. But now let's talk about the element that probably has the biggest emotional punch of all, color. And picking colors isn't just about what you like. Oh no, it's a science with its own rules and its own language for creating beautiful, harmonious combinations.
And this right here, this is the master key, the color wheel. It's a simple tool that brilliantly organizes 12 basic colors and shows you exactly how they relate to each other. For a designer, this is the ultimate guide to achieving unity, that feeling where everything in a design just clicks and belongs together.
The wheel is really built from 3 simple layers. You start with your primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. You can't mix anything to get these. Then, you mix those primaries to get your secondary colors. And finally, mix a primary with a secondary, and you get your tertiary colors, like that nice blue-green.
So using those relationships, designers have figured out these proven recipes called color schemes. For example, a complementary scheme uses 2 colors from opposite sides of the wheel, like blue and orange, for super high contrast and energy. Or you could use an analogous scheme, colors right next to each other, for a much calmer, more harmonious vibe.
And to get even more advanced,
we have to talk about value. A hue is just the pure basic color from the wheel, but from that one hue, you can create an entire family. Add white to make it lighter, that's a tint. Add black to make it darker, that's a shade. And add gray to mute it, that's a tone. This is how you create a clear visual hierarchy, guiding the viewer's eye from the most important thing to the least.
So now we know the rules of color. Let's get to the really cool part, the magic. Why does the color red make us feel excited? Or blue make us feel so calm? This is the psychology of color, and it is one of the most powerful tools a designer has.
Let's start with red. It's the color of stop signs and fire trucks for a reason. It grabs your attention like no other. It's physically stimulating. It represents our biggest, most intense emotions, from love and passion to rage and danger. Red is the color of action.
Green, on the other hand, is all about balance and calm. I mean, it's the main color in nature, so we're kind of hardwired to associate it with life, growth, and just feeling good. It's also the easiest color on our eyes, which is why it feels so refreshing and peaceful.
And then you have blue, the color of the sky and the ocean. It makes us feel calm, serene, stable. And that's exactly why so many big corporations, banks, and tech companies use blue in their logos. They want to communicate trust, reliability, and security.
Finally, there's white. We often think of it as the color of purity, innocence, and perfection. Psychologically, it represents a clean slate, a new beginning. It's neutral and balanced, which is why designers love using it to create a feeling of simplicity and open space.
So there you have it. In just a few minutes, we've gone from a single tiny dot all the way to the complex emotions of color. You now have the basic code, the secret language that designers use to build our visual world. So the next time you're scrolling online or walking down the street, I just have one question for you. What will you see differently?